There was a strange illness that explodes people out of nowhere. It begins in a classroom where everyone was taking a lecture. The lead actress Mara is later introduced to us, and while listening to the lecture, she was growing bored. Bored, Mara bends to grab her pencil as it falls to the ground while she was playing with it. But at that exact moment, the girl seated in front of her explodes. Her blood is splashed all over the place and everyone becomes terrified as a result of this incident. All students except Mara were covered in blood and, Mara, she gets frightened after seeing this. All the students leave the class and come out of the school. Mara's best friend approaches her and inquires about what happened in class. But she didn't tell her anything. Mara seemed perplexed because it was difficult to see everything with her eyes. She informs her best friend, "I barely bent, and the girl in front of me exploded." She shows her shoes to her best friend that was stained in blood. When the forensic lab team arrives, in the classroom to check, they don't find anything except the red liquid. The students were afterward taken to the police station for an investigation. An officer looks into Mara as well, but Mara was unable to respond to any of the questions. The police asked them to get cleaned up and wear new uniforms. While seating in a changing room, they were talking about the girl, who was blasted. Few people thought she was an alien, while some thought she might have a medical illness. Everyone was then sent out from the police station. On the next day, the girl's funeral was made and Mara returns with her best friend after attending her funeral. Her best friend was with her since childhood and they have been great friends since then. Currently, they arrive at a coffee shop for a coffee. While they were conversing, their other friend arrived. His name is Dylan and he sits with them. After telling Mara that he likes her, he tells Mara that he used to chat with her from an unknown number. And he never has enough courage to tell her in person. She was perplexed but also delighted since she finally knew the unknown person. Mara and Dylan become good friends and they prepare for a college party. "Since when do you like me?" Mara queries. He tells her, "When I came first time into the classroom. The teacher introduced me to everyone and I've liked you since I first saw you." Mara comes with Dylan to watch the game at the stadium. And everything appeared to be normal and fine. Suddenly another man exploded and everyone started to panic after seeing him. There was much chaos in the stadium and everyone becomes feared as they witness his explosion. She also becomes afraid to see this all. Schools and colleges were closed the next day and Mara couldn't enjoy herself at home, and she quickly grew bored. One night Dylan takes a truck and takes Mara with him to a party. They enjoy their time together, but when they come out from the party, and they were together, they hear some sounds. Everyone was yelling and running around. When they both go inside to check why they are acting in this way, another girl exploded over there. As they observe this, both become quite worried. After this incident, Mara visits the agent after bringing her friend. She starts to question why people are blasting in this way. There should be a reason behind this. "What you believe caused this explosion?" she asks. The agent claims that the cause is still under investigation but will be discovered soon. The next day, Mara goes on a long drive along with her friends. Suddenly, the friend who was driving exploded. Before they could make any sense, their other companion explodes. Mara informs Dylan, who has also reached there. But when he notices the state of the car, he starts to feel terrified. Their car was covered in blood and he didn't find anyone in the car. Amid the bloody scene, he notices a stone, on which a hand mark was printed with blood. He learns that someone might have gone toward the jungle. Dylan subsequently discovers Mara because she was there cleaning herself at a pond. She was terrified and hugs him, and eventually, they return to normal. As they were talking, some people wearing protective suits arrived there. After taking them to the hospital, a doctor examines Mara. All of the pupils were kept quarantined, and the doctors called the students. Only students were experiencing this explosion till now. They take their 10 samples and talk to them as well. All the students grow bored while living in quarantine. Meanwhile, the minister comes there one day and invites them for a meeting. He was motivating everyone and reassuring them that we were trying our best to figure out the cause and why is this happening. And you know it is only happening with the young generation. We'll look into this soon. You can return to your home if you accompany us. Mara and the other classmates become angry after hearing this because they were forcibly put in quarantine. They begin to raise their slogans against the government, but at the same time, another boy starts to explode as they are protesting. The exploding process begins gradually, one by one. This incident leaves everyone in shock and nobody was aware of how this could be possibly happening to anyone. The remaining students were terrified by the thought that they might be the next one who will explode. Doctors were making every effort as they tested each student separately. They also prepared medicines for them. However, no treatment has been successful to date, and all of the experiments failed. Due to Christmas, all of the students were sent home to celebrate. They all grow excited to see their parents when they arrive to pick them up. Mara also becomes happy to meet her parents. She returns home and starts to get ready for Christmas. Mara visits that agent the following day and inquires about her test reports. The agent assures her that everything is normal. Later, Mara visits Dylan, who is delighted to witness her surprise. They propose to each other and Mara becomes happy. Mara accepts his proposal and they spend quality time together. The next day, a doctor comes into their class and asks them to exercise with a healthy diet. While explaining the exercise, one student explodes. Everyone starts panicking, and the classroom becomes chaotic. Later, a few more students explode, and everyone starts to flee in terror to save their life. Mara and Dylan grow joyful when they see one another. They hug each other in celebration. Dylan was about to say something to her but he explodes in front of her. Mara goes insane over his death and she becomes senseless and has no idea what has happened in front of her eyes. She returns home and sits in the bathroom to clean herself. Her condition was terrible, and her mother also visits her. The next day, Mara's dearest friend comes to meet her but Mara, on the other hand, was in ill condition because she still doesn't believe Dylan has died. Her lover exploded in front of her and due to this, she doesn't want to speak to anyone. Time continues to pass, and the situation remains the same. Every day, one of them explodes and after 7 months, we see Mara, whose situation remained unchanged because she was still unable to forget Dylan. She used to drink and her best friend scolds her and asks how long will you remain in this state? You should move on in life and she tries to convince her to rejoin the school. Mara, however, pays no attention to her and ignores her completely. Her health deteriorated significantly, and she became an alcoholic. Her parents can't see her in this way, so they ask her to move on with her life. They ask you ought to settle your life, yet Mara misbehaves with her parents. She claims she wants to explode like everyone else and doesn't want to live anymore. After hearing this, her parents become silent. She opens a website after going into her room where all of her friends have sent messages against her. They claim that people were exploding everywhere because of Mara. All of Mara's classmates at her school later believe that Mara was to blame for the explosion. And wherever Mara will be, an explosion will happen. After reading this, she becomes even sadder and visits her best friend. But Mara's best friend also thinks she is having any curse upon her. She believed that whoever will be with Mara would be exploded. While being afraid, she leaves her. Mara was deeply hurt by her best friend's remarks. She goes to the school's convocation and tells everyone that she might be cursed. And says, I've decided to go away from here. Mara feels very guilty and depressed as a result. Later, she visits Dylan's grave and starts conversing with him while lying down there. She was crying and telling Dylan, you always made me feel so special. And I'm missing you and only I know how I'm living without you. She starts crying after saying this, and Mara's mother joins her. She lays down next to her and asks her not to pay heed to the remarks of others. If people exploded being with you, then why are we still alive? You always lived with us. Mara becomes motivated by her mom's words. She also pledges to live her life properly. In the morning, she comes to her parents and apologizes for her mistakes. In the end, the explosions have stopped and Mara's life has been restarted. The film ends with an unknown mystery and no one understood why those explosions happened. Thanks for watching and comment the next movie you wanted to be recapped.